States are beginning to take the initiative ahead of the Fed and the SEC, and it's actually good to see that states are beginning to exercise their rights and really do what's needed for the economic well-being of their state's residents and their businesses, as well, obviously, as their economies. The SEC really doesn't care what happens economically to, let's say, in Wyoming, whereas Wyoming does care what happens in the state. The SEC is really more concerned about the federal level. It's bogged down. It's a completely bogged down federal organization, really focused on holding and controlling their own interests or those of the federal government. And now, with a lack of clear direction from the Fed, our attention really must be focused on what's happening at the state level, because there's some really interesting things happening at the state level. And this isn't to say let's only focus on the state level, because there are, as I've mentioned in previous videos, some very important things that we need to do at the grassroots level to really assist those congressmen in the House right now that are proposing bills that are going to the Energy and Commerce Committee. They're going to the Financial Services Committee. I'm talking about bills coming from Darren Soto and from Warren Davidson. But let's today really focus in on what's going on at the state level, where states are exerting their rights over their own finances, over their own economy, over their own laws, and really over their own regulatory concerns. Hey, this is Jeff with the HODL Report. Join me on today's video as we discuss state regulation versus the Fed. If you like today's video, please remember to give a thumbs up, leave some comments below, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I also want to let you know that starting on Saturday, I'm going to be doing a live stream. This is Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. So get ready. We had the first live stream this past Saturday. It really took me out of my comfort zone. Not something I wanted to do. I was actually pushed a little bit by my son and his friend. They said, hey, you got to do the live stream. They wanted me to get into doing it the night before. We got everything set up and we did a live stream Saturday morning. It was great. I really enjoyed it. So stay tuned. We'll be doing another live stream Saturday morning, and who knows, as things kick off, although I'm pretty busy typically in the evenings, I would like to start offering live streams during the week as well. So we'll see how that goes. So let's get into it right now. What I did do, I pulled up a number of articles that I want to go through, that I want to review. And I think that as we go through them, to me, they're extremely interesting. So let's go take a look here. Now, this starts off. This was on Lathrop Gauge Alert, lathropgauge.com. Not sure the date here, July 9th of 2018. Now, this is actually a very good summary of all of the different states and the bills that have been proposed, the bills that have been passed at each state level when it comes to blockchain and digital assets. Now, there are actually 39 states that they highlighted here that have all put together some form of proposed bill, or again, they passed legislation regarding digital assets and cryptocurrencies. And so when we go down this list, you can go check it out, Lathrop Gauge, check out blockchain. And you can go down and read each and every one of these. I don't want to really go through right now and read every one of them. You can do that on your own. There is one in particular, or actually two in particular, that I'm going to highlight. The first is going to be Nevada. So let's take a look at this one. Now, this goes back to June 6th of 2017. Nevada became the first state to ban local governments from taxing blockchain use. Now, this appeared on CoinDesk.com, and what's interesting about this, again, taking a stance when it comes to digital assets, when it comes to blockchain technology at the state level. Again, they're concerned very much about developing their space for the technology as well as for jobs, not just jobs for the local residents, but they want to attract more individuals. They want to attract the companies that will bring huge amounts of money to the space, especially as that state becomes known as a blockchain or a digital asset friendly state. And Nevada, again, taking this stance that they will be banning local governments from taxing blockchain use. So this is right here. Let's see. Okay, if a law requires a record, now this is the other part of it. So we have the ban on the taxation. Now there's a number of states that have also put into place that if this has been put into a blockchain, if there's some form of an agreement on the blockchain, it will satisfy the laws in terms of being a writing, so or a signature. So let's look here. If a law requires a record to be in writing, submission of a blockchain which electronically contains the record satisfies the law. So in many cases, you have to submit something in writing in order for some event to then take place, or for the record to show that I was required to issue something in writing X number of days ahead of time. Well, now it's been recorded, and this is going to be acceptable. And there's a number of other states that have something very similar. Now, what I wanted to highlight, and I think this is really interesting as a take from what's happening in Nevada, is, and when, let's see, when did this come out? This was November 2nd, this past November. This appeared on Bitcoinist.com. A crypto millionaire is moving ahead to build an enormous smart city in Nevada, in which blockchain technology will drive all interactions, basically setting up the first blockchain smart city in the United States. So here we go. Jeffrey Burns, CEO of Blockchains, bought 67,000 acres of desert land in northern Nevada for $170 million. The company explains that the property was acquired to create a new kind of business and residential community that will be built on blockchain technology. So look at this. This is, let's say, among other projects, a highly secured high-tech park that joins blockchain technology with artificial intelligence, 3D printing, nanotechnology, residential units that will provide a new living environment to thousands. So this is based on the core of utilizing a blockchain for the development. And so this is, to me, that just shows you the direction that this technology is going in. And you have there's a lot of projects that are going on that we never really hear about. And again, this was in November. When I was doing my research, looking up different states, this is the first time I actually read about this. And you know, it's stunning. You look at the amount of money that he invested here, $170 million in Nevada. Didn't do it in New York, didn't do it in another state, did it in Nevada, because they are friendly to blockchain. They're friendly to digital assets, and they're friendly on the tax side of it, as we just read. Now, the last one here I want to take a look at, and the reason why I want to look at that is also because it's the latest. This was January 27th. Washington State introduces bill encouraging development of blockchain and DLT. This appeared on CryptoSlate.com. There were a number of others, a number of other sites that this appeared on as well. But this has a really nice summary. This Washington State Senate introduced SB 5638. So the Washington State Senate introduced a bill that would, through amending existing legislation, encourage the development of a distributed ledger and blockchain technology. The bill appears to codify blockchain and enable digital signatures and license and provide the legal recognition necessary to enforce these standards. So this is amending a law that's already on the books, the Washington Electronic Authentication Act, revising the purpose and construction and definition sections of the act. So again, a state taking the initiative to make their state more friendly towards blockchain technology. And actually, what we see when it comes to New York State, they are on the other side. They're really the polar opposite in terms of friendliness when it comes to regulation. So let's take a look at New York State, and again, this is really a perfect example of the impact that a state can have from a licensing perspective, and what they've done to really make it more difficult. So they're actually in 2014, New York State regulation came up with something called the BIT license. So this was introduced in 2014, came into effect in 2015. The BIT license essentially places regulations on any company or person that uses cryptocurrencies and they're residing in New York. So the business is in New York, the individual in New York. It really makes it extremely difficult to exchange. So the exchanges themselves have to really jump through hoops in order to get the proper licensing, and it's not cheap to get the licensing. So you really think about many times when a state regulates or over-regulates, it really isn't about what's best for the individuals. It's more about what's best for the coffers of the individual state that also might be spurred on by union argument. The same exact issue in New York State, in New York City in particular, when it comes to Uber, and the licensing requirements of the Uber drivers in New York are extremely strict, extremely stringent in terms of the licensing that they must they have to hold, or even the insurance that they have to hold, which would be comparable to that of a limo driver. And so in traveling through New York and talking to the Uber drivers, you know, when the regulations went into place, the cost of driving went up exponentially in order for them to hold that licensing. So New York State, again, not friendly to many of these types of newer technology, which is really amazing when you think about it. But on the other side, you have the unions, you have other powers that are playing, and then you have the city government, you have the state government that are pushing to get more money through regulation, and they do that through forcing individual businesses to hold specific licensing in order to be approved to do something where in another state like Nevada, they're able to do it freely. You know, they created the environment to want to keep these types of companies in their state. So really, since 2015, in a very short period of time, companies fled New York State. They left New York State, took their business elsewhere because the licensing requirements were just too much. Now, if you look at a company like Uphold, and many of us use Uphold or have used Uphold, New York State, they still don't have all of their official BIT license in place. But it's been filed. I was reading, and I meant to pull it up here, but they did file, and based on a specific statement, they said since it's filed and it's somewhat accepted, I don't remember the exact statement, then individuals in New York should be able to start using Uphold. But again, that's a should. They don't have, and they've gone through a lot of hoops, and it's taken a lot of time for them to get it. Now, Robinhood, another fintech type trading platform that launched this past year, started adding cryptocurrencies, but their trade is different. Let's not get into the whole discussion on, you know, how Robinhood trades on cryptocurrency, but the point being that they did get their BIT license just this past month, just in the past few weeks, and this is after a significant amount of time of them waiting. But obviously they paid whatever the fee was. They paid a huge fee in order to get that acceptance. Now, with the development and the movement in state laws, federal regulation is still needed, and the SEC must make decisions. Congress must take up passing the bills, as I mentioned in the beginning, and has already been proposed by a number of congressmen who I already mentioned, Rep. Darren Soto of Florida, and Rep. Warren Davidson of Ohio. They're both working on the Token Taxonomy Act. Darren Soto just signed on with Rep. Emmer on another bill. Darren Soto's working on his own bill. Warren Davidson has another bill that's going to be coming out, a revised of the Token Taxonomy Act, so we have to look out for that. There's other congressmen that are also at play that should be releasing some form of a bill to make the federal government a more friendly place towards blockchain, toward digital asset, create some clarity, create some regulation in order for everything to normalize. And so this obviously is all very, very important. Now, on another note, and this really illustrates the need for more transparency in government and economic transactions at the government level. There was an article just this morning that was published by CCN, and it was a report out of Japan that showed that they had a flawed methodology that had been employed in order to calculate and track Japan's economic data forecasting regarding their jobs report, regarding their whatever it might be, whether their economic growth over the course of each quarter, each year, year over year, whatever it might be. But it was flawed data, and so let's say they had a 3.5% growth rate. It might have only been 2.8%, but the ramification that flawed data like that has on the country could be extreme. And so this is obviously, it was a flawed methodology. There's a human error at place when something like that happens. Now, again, this has the potential of upsetting the 2018 economic data for Japan, but it could have further impact on their economy as a result. It's unknown. This report just came out. It may not have any impact. They might just get over it, but I do believe that something will happen. We might not sense it, but something will happen, internally over there. But really, what we learn from that lesson is that it's really time that blockchain is embraced at the highest levels. If that's not a sign, if that's not a lesson to be learned, we need to remove the potential for errors, whether they're technical or whether they're human errors, and also decrease the propensity for corruption. So by employing blockchain technology, we can really see some huge benefits, even at the highest level of government. Again, this is Jeff with the HODL Report. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to join us on Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our second live stream. If you enjoyed today's video, please don't be shy. Leave some comments. I really enjoy responding. We get some good banter on the channel. Hit the thumbs up. So give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. That's that little button over here somewhere. And just a quick note before we sign off, I'm not a financial advisor, not giving any form of financial advice, and really anything that I say during the video is really just my own opinions. I do look forward to seeing you on my next video, and in the meantime, keep on hodling your crypto.